Across the ages, history has been shaped by warriors, kings, and conquerors. But few have left a mark as deep as the Franks and the Normans. They rose from the ashes of fallen empires, forged kingdoms in the fires of war, and changed the course of history forever. Who were these men who built empires? Who were these warriors who carved their names into the annals of time? Their story is one of ambition, power, and conquest. And now, their legacy unfolds before you. The world they were born into was one of shifting sands, a time where mighty empires had crumbled, leaving behind a land of chaos, where survival depended on strength, cunning, and the will to rule. From the dense forests of Gaul to the wind-swept shores of Normandy, these warriors forged their path through battle and blood, guided by ambition and destiny. The Franks, descendants of Germanic tribes, first appeared on the stage of history as mercenaries for Rome. They learned from the empire they would one day replace, absorbing its military tactics, its governance, and even its faith. But Rome was fading. Its legions were withdrawing, and in the power vacuum left behind, new rulers would rise. Among them was Clovis, a name that would echo through time. A warrior, a conqueror, and a king unlike any before him. With his sword, he carved out a kingdom. With his faith, he secured an empire. But the story does not end there. For while the Franks built their kingdom upon the ruins of Rome, another force was stirring in the north. Vikings, raiders, seafarers who knew no fear. They came with fire and steel, their longships cutting through the waves like the edge of a blade. They plundered, they conquered, and they left the world trembling at their name. Yet even the fiercest of warriors must sometimes change. And from these Viking raiders, a new people would rise, the Normans. Not just warriors, but rulers. Not just conquerors, but kings. This is the story of the Franks and the Normans. A story of war, of faith, of empire. A story that shaped the world. And now, it is time to uncover their legacy. The Franks were once a scattered collection of tribes, living in the forests and river valleys of northern Gaul. They had no unified king, no central rule. Only the strength of their warbands and the might of their chieftains. But fate was about to forge them into something far greater. As Rome crumbled, the Franks saw their opportunity. Among them rose a leader, a warrior who would unite the clans and carve out a kingdom. Clovis. Clovis was not just a fighter. He was a tactician, a strategist, and a visionary. He knew that to rule, he had to be more than just the strongest warrior. He had to be the most cunning. His first test came at the Battle of Soissons in 486 AD, where he faced Syagrius, the last Roman ruler of Gaul. The battle was fierce, but the Franks fought with unmatched ferocity. In the end, Syagrius was defeated, and Clovis claimed his lands. The last vestiges of Roman rule in Gaul had fallen, and a new era had begun. But Clovis sought more than just land. He sought legitimacy. He knew that power was not only won on the battlefield, it had to be recognized by the people and blessed by the gods. And so, in one of the most pivotal moments in European history, Clovis embraced Christianity. The baptism of Clovis was more than a religious conversion. It was a political masterstroke. By aligning himself with the Roman Catholic Church, he secured the support of the clergy and the people. No longer was he just a king of warriors. He was a ruler chosen by God. With faith as his banner and steel as his weapon, Clovis continued his conquests, uniting the Franks under one rule. His kingdom stretched across Gaul, laying the foundation for what would one day become France. The Merovingians, the dynasty he founded, would rule for centuries. But Clovis had done more than establish a dynasty. He had transformed the Franks from scattered tribes into a kingdom destined to shape the future of Europe. And yet, as history has shown time and time again, power is never eternal. The Franks had risen, but what would become of them in the centuries to come? After the death of Clovis, the Frankish kingdom did not fade into obscurity. It expanded, reaching new heights under his descendants. The Merovingian kings, though often divided in their ambitions, continued the conquest and consolidation of lands beyond Gaul. Frankish warlords pushed into Burgundy, Alemannia, and Bavaria, absorbing rival tribes and enforcing their dominance. The Franks were no longer just warriors. They were rulers of a structured kingdom, with law and order shaping their expansion. One of the greatest challenges of this era was maintaining unity. The tradition of dividing the kingdom among heirs led to frequent rivalries, with brothers and cousins clashing for control. Some kings ruled with wisdom, strengthening the kingdom, while others fell to betrayal and civil war. Yet amidst these struggles, one thing remained certain: the Frankish kingdom was growing stronger. Their alliance with the Church deepened, solidifying their position as the true heirs of Rome. By the early 7th century, the foundations had been laid for the rise of a new dynasty. The Merovingians had expanded the realm, but their grip on power was weakening. The true rulers of the Franks were no longer the kings themselves, but the men who stood behind the throne. And soon, a new leader would emerge. A leader who would bring an empire greater than any before him. In the shadows of Merovingian rule, a new force was rising. The mayors of the palace, once mere administrators, had become the true power behind the Frankish throne. The kings, once mighty warriors, had become figureheads. And among these palace officials, one family would rise to forge an empire greater than anything the Franks had ever known: the Carolingians. By the late 7th century, the Frankish realm was still vast, but it was fractured. The Merovingian kings, often referred to as the do-nothing kings, were largely symbolic rulers. The real power lay with the mayors of the palace, powerful officials who controlled administration, taxation, and military decisions. One such man was Pepin of Herstal. Unlike the kings he served, Pepin was a true leader, a warrior who expanded Frankish influence and centralized authority under his rule. Under his leadership, the Carolingians became the dominant force in Frankish politics, setting the stage for an era of true imperial power. The turning point came in 732 AD at the Battle of Tours. The Umayyad Caliphate had swept across Iberia, their armies reaching deep into Frankish lands. But there, in the heart of Gaul, they met their match. Charles Martel, son of Pepin of Herstal, led the Frankish forces into battle. For days, the Frankish infantry held firm against the cavalry charges of the Umayyads. Martel, known as the Hammer, used his disciplined heavy infantry and a defensive shield wall to break the enemy's momentum. When the opportunity arose, the Franks counterattacked, driving the Umayyads back. The victory secured Christian Europe from further incursions and reinforced Frankish dominance. Martel's victory at Tours not only saved Gaul from further invasion, but it solidified his control over the realm. He ruled as an uncrowned king, laying the foundation for his family's eventual ascension to the throne. After Charles Martel's death, his son Pepin the Short took power. But unlike his father, he did not settle for ruling behind the scenes. In a bold political maneuver, Pepin sought the blessing of Pope Zachary. The Pope, recognizing Pepin's authority, declared that the true king should be the one who holds power, not the figurehead who wears the crown. With papal approval, Pepin deposed the last Merovingian king, Childeric III, and was anointed the first Carolingian king in 751 AD. This marked a turning point in Frankish history. The bond between the Carolingians and the papacy was sealed, setting the stage for a new Frankish empire. Pepin the Short was not content with simply taking the throne. He sought to expand and secure his kingdom. His campaigns against the Lombards in Italy strengthened ties with the Pope, leading to the creation of the Papal States, a gift of land that would shape the power dynamics of medieval Europe for centuries. His conquests further centralized Frankish authority, paving the way for his son, who would take the Carolingian dynasty to unprecedented heights. Upon Pepin's death in 768, his son Charles, better known as Charlemagne, ascended to the throne. His ambition was limitless, his military skill unmatched. His rule would not only shape the Franks, but define the very idea of medieval kingship. For the next 40 years, Charlemagne waged wars of expansion. He conquered the Lombards in Italy, subjugated the Saxons through a brutal decades-long campaign, and extended Frankish control deep into Central Europe. Charlemagne was more than just a warrior. He was a builder, a statesman, and a reformer. His reign saw the Carolingian Renaissance, a revival of art, learning, and administration that echoed the glory of Rome. And in the year 800 AD, on Christmas Day, he was crowned Emperor of the Romans by Pope Leo III in St. Peter's Basilica. It was a moment that changed history. Rome had fallen centuries earlier, but now, through Charlemagne, its legacy had been reborn. The Franks had risen, and now, under the Carolingians, they had built an empire. But in the centuries to come, a new force, descended from Viking raiders, would emerge, shaping the next chapter of history, the Normans. The age of the Normans was one of conquest, adaptation, and transformation, turning raiders into rulers and warriors into kings. My friend, we have traveled far through time together. We have seen the rise of mighty kings, the clash of armies, and the forging of legacies that still shape our world today. Now, it's your turn to uncover history's greatest saga, the complete journey. The rise, the wars, the conquests awaits you. Then join me on Timeless Tales, where the full documentary awaits. Watch the full documentary now on Timeless Tales. Click the link below, and together we will journey once more into the past. Step into the past. Witness the legend. Do not just hear history, live it. The adventure is only beginning.